I'm going to turn this way, and I'm going to ask if somebody can just see that we are live on Twitter and X. Can anybody confirm that yet with the delay? Probably not.
You look super anon with your hat on. Yeah.
There you go.
When you're that far back.
I saw that shadow is not working out. Okay. So I'm going to assume we're live, and I'll
Yeah, we're
just
live, man.
start off.
We're
Oh,
live.
all right, live. All right, hold intro. Welcome everyone to VDAO live stream number 3. My name is Steph Curdy. I'm here on my 3-acre property in Southampton, New Jersey, where I'm restoring and regenerating what once was a little junkyard into a productive farm, solar, compost ecosystem. And I'm joined today by 5 others who are VDAO contributors or interested community members. And so let's first take this moment to go around the room from left to right on my screen. Chris, then Kit, then Ron, Gardner, and then Tati. Please introduce yourself. What do you do in VDAO, or what do you hope to contribute? And what's your interest in? I'm going to ask specifically what's your interest in permaculture or regenerative agriculture. Chris, kicking it to you.
Hey everyone, my name's Chris Miller. I'm one of the co-founders of VDAO. I live in Scotland and have been interested in permaculture since around 2017 when I moved from the city to live in a more rural spot, and wanted to start learning how to kind of grow my own food, nutritious food, and be a little bit more aware of the systems that I was dependent upon. So like where my energy was coming from, my food was coming from, my water was coming from. And since then, I've just really got interested in the intersection of permaculture and tech, and that trying to bring that to life, that intersection inside VDAO.
Nice. Ben just popped in. Ben, we're doing intros, so I'm going to kick it to you, and then we'll send it to Kit. We're just introducing ourselves, what we do in VDAO, and what we hope to do in permaculture lens.
Fantastic. Yeah. So my name's Ben Burkholm. I've been part of the VDAO DAO since, kind of basically the start, helping out on the community side, managing social media, tackling events organization. You've probably seen me if you're familiar with the VDAO YouTube channel, facilitating the sort of webinar style P2P learning. In terms of like what I'm trying to do with permaculture is more so independently, work on my own, backyard and grow from there, and also contribute to VDAO in whatever way I can. And then should I kick it off to somebody else, or sorry, I'm joining a little bit late, so I'm not sure who has gone and who hasn't. I'll go ahead and kick it over to Ron.
Thanks, Ben. You were number 2, so plenty of people. My name is Ron Rivers. I'm VDAO adjacent, interested. I'm with Spirit DAO, and our we focus on providing kind of federated, self-sovereign infrastructure for communities interested in a wide variety of things, permaculture being one of them. We serve as a nonprofit. We serve the 8 Dignities, which is a framework of kind of public goods and global public works to unbind our rights from the state, permaculture and regenerative agriculture being a huge focus of that. So I'm just here to contribute how I can and be a fly on the wall. So I will pass it to Gardner.
Hey everybody, hope my connection here is all right. I just had to drop and come back. I'm a VDAO contributor, have been a member since 2024. And totally aligned with the concept of self-sovereignty and creating your own regenerative ecosystem through food forests on your own property or a community garden, rainwater harvesting, solar energy production, and I've been an entrepreneur for 15 plus years, creating different businesses that are making frontier technology accessible to any non-technical user. I am very interested in the intersection of regenerative agriculture and AI, and also ensuring that communities can be as self-sovereign as possible, and quite interested in the ability to bring these things to people that is perhaps decentralized in a way where they can have a queryable database, potentially that even runs offline, so they can use tools without intermediaries. So a lot there, but I'll pass it off to Tati. And one more thing, I really love that Steph is like taking action during these calls. Like, we talk a lot about doing cool things and we do things, but I think it's really cool that we're actually watching Steph do the thing while we're talking about it.
Live from the field.
Yeah.
This is fantastic. Can you guys hear me? Mic check. All right. So, hello, everybody. My name is Tati. I'm living in the United States. I'm a software engineer. I found this group of fine folks at ETH Denver, and I've been with them ever since. We are like-minded folks. I think that everything that you guys have said previously kind of applies to me. I'm also interested in regenerative agriculture and decentralized systems, and really reducing dependency. I'm working on several projects that I don't want to elaborate on too much right now, but they're all centered around this idea of regenerative agriculture, and my dream, right, my goal would be ultimately thinking big, would be to see every family growing a food bearing plant. I would like to decentralize food cultivation, and I want to see a food bearing plant in every home, no matter how big or small it is. It could be an herb or it can be a giant tree, but that's what I'm working towards. Anybody else? Am I supposed to pass it on to somebody? I think we all went. Did we all go? Oh, Kit.
Yeah, I'll chime in. I'm also a VDAO contributor. I don't remember how I got interested in it. It was a while ago, but I met Chris and Ben at a VDAO event in Singapore that was next door to the Network State Conference, and after that I stayed very interested and caught up with them in Denver and such. And I have a small nonprofit together with an Indian friend in Hong Kong called Shane Research. And we build proof of concept software for climate action. And I'm also involved in the Green Pill Dev Guild. So I'm active in the regenerative space. And there's a lot of nice overlaps with VDAO. And on the personal side, I live in the Netherlands, in Rotterdam, and I have a house, which is what the Dutch call a double house. It's two houses in one. And the downstairs house is an office, which has also functioned as a hub at various times, and it could be a hub in the future with some related activity to VDAO. So we'll see how that plays out.
A wide variety of great people. So, yes, I'm excited to actually try this out for the first time, which is just be productive on the land while also being productive on the computer. So thanks for bearing with me. I'll sometimes try to be on mute. What's up?
And
You guys?
let me just add one detail. We're watching Steph, who's working on installing solar panels.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I'll try to remain on mute. I'm going to be transporting solar panels to their proper storage place before they're going into an array. But we need a direction to go in this conversation and in this meetup. And so let's build off of what we did in the previous conversation, in the previous live stream. And for me, where that kind of left off at was the VDAO Mesh project. And well, there was a lot that was shared then, but Chris, could I ask you to catch us up from what happened in live stream 2 and then give the relevant updates in order for new people seeing this for the first time, just give them a brief summary, but then make sure that those who are in the room here aren't, hearing the same thing for the 10th time and know how to start building and moving forward, or at least how can we start contributing to what this is as a decentralized community.
Sounds good, man. Sure. Before I go there, like, maybe could you tell us more about your solar array? Because I'm super curious. Like, how many panels have you got here?
Oh yeah, sure. So, okay, so the way that I'm connected on the internet right now is I have this Starlink down here on the ground.
So you're literally like in the field, like you're at your plot. You're like with Starlink internet connection right now.
Yes, we're at this little grid. Off-grid cabin. It's got a loft in there. Right now it's just storage, but those are solar panels sitting back there, and there's a total of 28 panels. 2 got destroyed on the way in. They are 450 watt each. Each one was about $150. And they should be able to do about 12 kilowatt hours of production on a sunny day like today. I need batteries in order to store some of that variable energy, and I need use cases. Some of the use cases will be just to put out lights and electricity out here. Some of that electricity will go to mining proof of work cryptocurrencies. Some of it will be used for AI inference. I do want to be able to charge an electric vehicle, however slowly, and then whatever other possible needs may arise, like hot water or induction stoves, stuff like that. And these panels are quite big. They're hard to move. They're unwieldy, but that's why I have my trusty little gorilla wheel. I'm taking them over to that shed over there.
That's totally cool. So they're going on the roof of the shed, is it?
The 3 of them will, and then the rest will be in an array just in front there. And the shed is facing due south, so we'll set up the array right out in front of there, facing due south.
Nice.
Yeah.
Gardner?
I have a question about.
Steph, can you tell us a little bit? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I had a question about sourcing the equipment. What do you recommend, and what have you learned from sourcing those panels and battery?
Yeah. So I'm using a website called Signature Solar. It was recommended to me by somebody who's set up all of their own solar gear, gotten a lot of inverters, batteries from there. So signaturesolar.com. I'm not paid for any of that, but the customer service has been good. Seems like the prices are, at market. You can order 10 panels. You can order 1 panel. You can order a pallet of panels. So that's been good, and they have basically everything I need, and they ship from within the US. So this is kind of US centric. And then there's shipping costs. What else? What else would we like to know?
Perhaps. Go ahead, Tati. I'll come back.
No, I'm sorry. I thought you were done. I'm sorry. I love to play devil's advocate. And one of the things that I hear living out here in Virginia and in the Northeast is like the pushback against solar energy because of our lack of sun. Like right now, I'm in Virginia. I'm in Northern Virginia. We haven't seen the sun in 3 days. It's been cloudy all this time, but it's normal, right? April showers bring May flowers and stuff like that. So I'm sure that if you're doing this, that you've already looked into this, and if you're going forward, that you've found that it's still worth it to move forward with it. Can you tell us like what your perspective is? Like, did you run into that kind of pushback and that kind of a challenge, and how are you working through that with the lack of sun, in that part of the country versus, I don't know, somewhere like Puerto Rico, right, where it gets sun all the time?
I was gonna say, relative to Puerto Rico, probably the northeast or the further northern hemisphere is relatively light on sun, but it doesn't mean that it's not actually very productive at our latitude or longitude, whatever goes horizontal. So I used to sell solar and batteries for Tesla here in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, which is more north than Virginia. Um, you can easily, on the roof of your home for a single family home, produce a vast majority of your electricity needs per year, just by solar. That's assuming that you are grid tied and you have reverse metering possibilities, so you could send electricity onto the grid and get paid for it. But just in terms of geographies, the only thing that you really need to do as you go further north is to tilt your solar panels at a 15 to 45 degree angle so that you're getting a majority of the sun, and you want to be facing due south as best as possible. So I would say I've not been discouraged. I've never been discouraged. Um, and I think for maybe it matters what your local climate is. Perhaps you're in a very shady place, but I would say it's totally doable in Virginia. Definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Ben,
So
you got your hand up.
Yeah, I just had a question for you, Steph. Are you building the array yourself, or are you doing this with a prefab kit? And if you're using either one, is there a way to sort of maybe incorporate like servos that can then allow the panels to track the sun throughout the day so that you're maximizing the amount of sun that you're capturing? Sure.
um, I am I'm in very much experimental phase, and I wanted to move faster than it was to build like a long-term high quality structure. So my long-term goal is to build like a wooden frame that can house the panels and can be there for some extended period of time. The short-term solution is this thing called Integra Rack. Um, it's going to be a 30-degree oriented, just kind of aluminum frame, and it's very easy to just rest on top of the ground and put. There's these like big spikes that just go directly into the ground. So, in the case that I need to not keep the panels where they are or rapidly change them for whatever reason, it's easy to do. Um, they're This is not the cheapest solution, but because I'm in an experimental phase, I kind of just wanted to move fast, and so this is what I have to get into the ground to mount the. I don't have to mount them on anything. I could lay the panels flat on the ground and just go forward. That wouldn't give you the degrees, or it also would take up a little more space, and you would risk walking on them. But this is going to be a quick solution to find out how much sense it makes, and then I would scale up from there. So I'm only going to be able to host about 7 or 8 panels on this equipment, and so I have 28 total that they're just going to sit for now. They're not going to be implemented.
I don't I don't know if we're supposed to move on from this, so I don't mean to turn this into like the whole solar panel chat, but this is such an interesting topic and you're there. And since you mentioned that you were also in sales, so there's this thing in Puerto Rico that's going on where There's a lot of land that was originally reserved for agricultural land that is being sold off to plant solar panels. And there's like huge swaths of like fertile, very useful land, right? That just has these panels in it. Where can we bridge? But I've also seen places where like solar panels are taking up space, but there's harmony or symbiosis with the environment, with the animals, with plants that are being grown, right? Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, how do we, can't we do both? Does it have to be like, it doesn't have to be like completely destructive, and it doesn't have to be like, we're against solar panels, right? Like, is there a convergence?
Yeah, I think that's a lovely question, because the last thing that I want to see really is just pure solar fields. Um, Let me just take a step back. I think that there is always the balance. Like, we should look for that balance, and a lot of what's potentially happening with solar is that it's the same thing that's happening with like monocrop agriculture, where you just plant entire fields of corn, and it's because what's being incentivized there, what's profitable for that use case is kind of, we need to standardize this and we need to do it at scale. That's kind of antithetical to what VDAO is, in my opinion, and where VDAO is trying to be resilient and local. You do have to find the diversity and balance of all of it. So the size of my panel, the size of my system, was intended to be in the far corner over here, which is still going to be visible, but it's going to be out of the way. I don't have a grid connection here, so I do need some form of electricity. Some of that electricity doesn't need to come from solar. It can come from batteries, but there's this whole trade-off mix between the economics. I would love for it to be a silvopasture where there are animals that can roam underneath and below and eat the vegetation with the solar panels, and it not be too much in the way. Solar does not solve everything. It's one of its best use cases to sit on top of a roof, which is already being used. The space is already being used well as a home. So a book I would recommend, two books I would recommend. One is by an author named Vaclav Smil. He talks about the energy density of civilization, essentially, and he talks about why solar panels on the roofs of homes make the most sense as opposed to filling up fields. And then another book would be The Grid by Gretchen Bakke, Bakke, because she talks about the complexity of solar panels and the trade-offs that you're talking about, Tati. So that was a book I would recommend to people as navigating the complexity of the conversation you're talking about.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And then in Puerto Rico, I'm pretty sure Puerto Rico's electrical grid is somewhat fragile. And if you were to put too much solar output onto the electrical grid, it can cause even more disruptions. So I could see where intermittent solar as a variable fuel source onto a frail and fragile electrical grid actually causes more problems than it solves.
There's a huge off-grid revolution where the energy infrastructure in Puerto Rico is just basically unreliable. So people are like, I'm just going to go off grid and have a cistern, and that's what a lot of people are doing, and doing container homes, things like that, because hurricanes, right, come through. So you can't build a house of sticks. You have to build so container homes, solar, off grid.
Yeah. Love it. What do other people think? Sneaking away here to move solar panel.
Yes, don't let us interrupt the actual production.
I just want to make sure that you guys can see me as I walk, I think that way, and I'll get over there. So yeah, I'll be in visibility.
Couple of things I wanted to throw into the mix. One is so your point, Tati, about the efficiency, or like how much you generate in low sun environments, is like really valid, I think. And there's calculators that you can use online, like solar calculators, that will tell you in a specific area at a specific orientation how much you'll generate in terms of output from a certain size of or number of solar panels, and that can help you decide like whether it's worth putting panels in there or not. But generally, like, so I've got a system here in Scotland that I actually haven't set up yet. I still need to do that. But in Germany, I was living in Germany before, and over there, the panels have got so cheap that people are even installing them on north-facing roofs where there's no direct sunlight because the numbers just add up. You don't need like direct sunlight on the panel, especially with like the latest generation of panels. They're slightly more efficient. They're like gradually getting more efficient slowly. You can get pretty good output even on a north side of a roof. And the other thing that people have started doing is like, in some cases, it's cheaper to put solar panels up than it is to put wooden fencing up. So some people in Germany have like solar fences along their gardens. But I think the point that you made about like the massive big solar farms, like they're very common in Germany, like they're all over because they got rid of nuclear. So they tried to like scale up using solar and renewables. And you go like on the train and you can just see like for miles and miles of farmland like covered in these panels. And I agree, like I wonder like what, like there's no food production happening there, like is that a good thing for the environment, just having swathes of land that like kind of allocated in that way? But I agree with what Steph said about it being about balance, and I think their grid operators have to make choices about like how they manage the whole grid, and they will be more likely to build big farms than they will be to incentivize like local decentralized solar. But from a resilience point of view, it's like totally it's much easier to become energy sufficient for solar than other. I mean, some people would say, oh, why don't you like get like a small nuclear reactor or something for your community? I know like there's some communities in Texas that are thinking of along those lines. Like there's like modular nuclear reactors and stuff, but it's like super new technology. Whereas if you chuck a solar panel on your roof, it's going to generate power consistently for 25 years. There's some panels from the 80s that are still generating power, right? So like it's a tried, tested, true technology, and I think it's really valuable for self-sufficiency and self-sovereignty as it relates to energy.
Just listening to you, it all becomes clear, right? Because it makes so much sense. And in a place like Puerto Rico, where we had Hurricane Maria, which completely decimated the electric grid, poles down all over the place. And the choice was instead of using that as an opportunity, right, to move to a different form of energy, they just put a new post right next to the old post, hooked the wires to it, and left the old post where it was. And that's been the strategy, right? And then fast forward a couple of years, we continue to get an immense outpouring of federal dollars that come from taxpayer money to restructure the energy grid. And the decision that is made is to ship in liquefied natural gas into the island. And that is what we are at the right, that is what we have, right? And so, we used to have oil refineries in Puerto Rico, which worked great, right? Because if we had some refineries, then at least you can bring some crude, and then we had a way to turn it into gas, keep some for the island, and then ship elsewhere, so we had sort of a leverage that we could have. But those 936 and a lot of the tax incentives that were given for those industries went away, and as soon as the tax incentives went away, the industries went away, and the refineries are no longer operational. So like I said, a lot of people have gone off grid, but it just became some plainly obvious why these things that make perfect sense don't happen, right? And it's because there's like a vested interest in keeping things the way they are, even though it makes absolutely no sense to do so. And so I think part of the battle to be able to establish and spread the word and awareness and use of regenerative ecosystems is education, right? And to start very, very young so that people are able to understand these things. And I never mean to get political, but it's like politics and these things affects, like, right, we're talking about the food that we eat, the air that we breathe, and the water that we drink. And so it's not the whole part of it, but it's kind of like a part of it that needs to be tackled, because we can come up with the greatest ideas, but they'll just never happen no matter how great they are.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I think like the technology is having a big impact on the grids, and some of these old ways are getting tested, not necessarily through like political action, just through technological advancement, like electric cars or like people wanting to have batteries in their homes. The old grid struggles to cope with a lot of that stuff, like Steph was saying earlier. You put a lot of solar in to the grid, the old centralized grid, it creaks under the pressure. So I think the future of the grid probably looks something more decentralized, but because of rapid technological advancement, like decentralization through people just take it, like what's happening in Puerto Rico, people just being like, I'm more resilient if I put in solar panels or I get like my own energy supply. Like it just makes sense. But yeah, this is a really fascinating topic. Steph, sorry, I know you asked me to give an update on that app, right? But I just wanted to learn more about what you were doing over there first.
It's good. Thanks for asking. But yeah, I think if we want to keep, I think this is good to go anywhere. But I think there's some exciting developments, and I don't know if we want to talk about how to enable somebody to build on top of the thing that's being built. But why don't you introduce that again so that the live stream can see it, and the conversation kind of pick up there, because you did mention it. You did mention about how you could answer some of Tati's questions, and I think it's directly applicable.
Yeah, sounds great. I also want to just highlight before we move on, like Ben, I think Ben's dropped off, but one of the great things that's come out of this live stream is that it inspired Ben to like go and build this app for like, he's got a flock of chickens and he's in this group in Minnesota with like 90,000 people on Facebook that are all like chicken farmers or something across the US. So he's like, not 90,000, 19,000. So like there's a lot of people in this group, and he's like, hey, like I built this app and I'm tracking how many eggs and the health of my chickens. And they're like, oh wow, I could really use that. So he's got like 20 users or something already who are like testing out this app. And he's like, he has launched it as an Android app. I hope I wish he was here because it's his story to share, right? But yeah, just to say, like, that's the kind of vibe we're trying to foster here with this live stream, is to get other people like building and experimenting and like trying stuff out.
Success.
Super cool.
Yeah, huge success. Love that.
Yeah, so briefly, in terms of the app, so it's kind of grown in a couple of different directions, and I want to update you guys on that. The codes for this mesh app is now live on our GitHub. The GitHub link is in our Discord. Our Discord is in the bio if people want to come in there. And I'll just briefly recap what our vision was for this app. It was about having a an aggregator of macro data as it relates to local resilience. So by macro data, we mean like weather data, climate data, and also things like topography of the land, shape of the land. Those are the two things at the macro level that I've really prioritized. So climate, topography. And then on a micro level, what properties are available in a certain area. So can I find a place to build a techno homestead or a VHub? And the second thing is food networks. Those are like the two things that came up really strongly. Like, where's the farmers market in my area? How do I connect with people that are growing real healthy, nutritious food? So we've built this mesh that enables us to collect that data. It can also add tons of other data in the future. Like it's versatile enough that we can add stuff later on. But I'm trying to, in the last week, trying to focus on like just getting the basic, these 4 basic elements right, and the presentation right. It's still like very early stages, but I'll show you what it looks like right now. And if anyone wants to learn more about like how we got to this point or what we were like, where this started, go back to the first live stream like 2 weeks ago and have a look. You'll see in there the discussion we had. Before I bring up the app, let me pause here. Is there anything anyone wants me to double click on, or anything you want me to?
It's exciting
Any questions
to see the progress happening IRL and URL as we get into this stuff.
Yeah, man. So this is the app. Can you guys see it? And I'll just walk you guys through. So essentially at the moment, this is still super early in its development. And one thing that I want to come clean about, because like it's been on my mind, like when we first started this, I was like, we'll only use open source tools to build this thing. Like we'll only use open source and stuff. When I've been building this, I've been using the new Codex 5.5 GPT model because it's just like so good. However, the code itself is open source, and as we develop, we'll leverage more and more open source models. My take on this was, if we can get really far advanced with a GPT model, even though the code is like the model is closed source, if the code is open source, I'm kind of okay with that. But what do you guys think about that? Any thoughts?
I think it's the state of things where you have to use a more powerful model and harness that is perhaps quote unquote proprietary to kind of kick things off. But if there's a repo, and we can start using local models and local hardware that people can access, I think that's the goal for sure.
Yeah. Agreed. And I felt like, sorry, go ahead.
I think his microphone switched perhaps to his computer.
Yeah.
He's busy installing a solar panel.
Yeah.
I'm trying to walk and talk at the same time. Is it not coming through?
Oh yeah, we can hear you now.
That's
when
better.
You're close to your computer. I think your headphones microphone is not connected.
Oh shit. Okay. All right, I'll fix that. Keep going.
No worries. Did you want to ask me something? No worries. Yeah, fully agree with you, Gardner. Like, I probably could have built this with GLM 5.1. In fact, I'm pretty sure I could have built it, but it would have taken me probably a little bit longer to do this, and the quality would have been slightly less. I think I probably could have got it, and I'm just guessing here, right? Because I'm not an expert at using GLM 5.1 or like Quen Code or any of the open coding models. But I think the level that GPT 5.5 is putting out for coding is just like very high right now. So I'm making the most of that and trying to get like as far ahead with this thing as possible. So we have like a baseline. Obviously, all the code is open. It's on our GitHub, right? So if anyone wants to go in and play around with this, they're more than welcome to.
And remember, the frontier models are like only 3 months ahead of open source. So like in 3 to 6 months, like all of this will be able to be done open source.
Yeah, that's what I'm actually most excited about. I'm most excited about having like this quality of model, but like locally. I think that will open up so many possibilities. Anyway, like on this app, the way it currently stands, so we've got this 3D globe, which is built in free 3GS, and then there's this mesh, this H3 mesh that's overlaid on the whole planet, and it's kind of the same mesh that's used for Uber's app. They open sourced it, I think, in like 2018 or 19 or something, and it's frequently used to like collect data, geospatial data, but it can be used to collect other data as well. So what I've got at the moment is like if you type in a coordinate, it's going to like bring you in to a map of a location. These are like open source maps, but you can see it like takes you can zoom like right in, so you can like get right into whatever coordinate you want. And eventually, so the plan here is, if I zoom out a little, we've got like this map here is like a map of the UK. It's kind of dark, it gets lighter as you zoom in. But if you imagine there's a grid overlaid on the whole of Scotland, or we could go like to the US. Over the sea. So like here, there's a grid overlaid over this, and we can apply certain layers of data. So the different layers that I've focused on have been like these macro layers, like weather. What's the weather like? Is there like, and this climate data can be used to identify like flood risk, fire risk, and also to go back to your question or your point earlier, Tati, about like how much solar energy can I generate in a particular area. We can have that data on here as well. And part of the work that I've been doing here is like going and Danilo, who unfortunately isn't able to make it today, but he's been like so helpful with this. It's like pulling together all this data, all this open source data, because there's like all this NASA data, and there's LiDAR data, and there's like climate data, and there's the flood data, fire data. All this data is like splattered all over the world in different
invasive species, pests, all kinds of things.
It's like everywhere, right, on the internet. And so this app is essentially going out and like trying to pull it all together. And then for someone, say like you were like, oh, I want to build a techno homestead, you might be like, the next, I haven't got to this stage yet, but the next stage is like it would bring up all the properties in a certain area. But,
Chris, can you try Southampton, New Jersey? South. Remove the H on Hampton and just put the A next to the H on South.
Is this it?
It's one word. Southampton is one word.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Is that this here?
It's loading for me. Yep, that's it. So how am I doing on technicality? I'm a 68 out of 100.
So this, I should say, like this data is just dummy data, right? And actually, yeah. I've come to the conclusion, and we can experiment with this as this process unfolds. But my current thinking is that trying to make assessments on what the data means is really a very advanced and problematic step to take with this. So rather than going there, like the functionality is there if in the future we manage to build an algorithm that would be credible. But for right now, this is just dummy data. The main focus of this app is on providing like useful data for humans to make assessments themselves. So the machine isn't
Yep.
going to tell you whether an area is good or bad to purchase or like build a hub or a homestead, but it will tell you different things about the environment around you, like what is the floods, what has the weather been like for the last 30 years? Are there any trends? Is there any flood risk? What's the topography like? All that stuff.
Could
Uh,
could you zoom out on the map just to give us a bigger view?
so at the minute, like it's coded to turn dark as you get further out, and then this is just like a representation of the Earth. It doesn't actually map to geography
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
But one thing that I found really interesting about this is that uh, there's this project called Mapterhorn, and also another project called MapZen, and they have a lot of tiles, open source tiles for like the topography of the land. And I don't think it'll work in this demo, but I can try. Yeah, it's not going to. Oh, it kind of does. Can you see the map changing?
Yep.
So like in here, you can see that's like satellite imagery,
Mm-hmm.
and this data source. So there's this satellite data called Sentinel-2, and it is released by the European Union. It maps the Earth like every 2 days, generates a new image, but it's at very low resolution. Like 1 pixel from the satellite image is like 30 meters on the Earth, I think, something like that. But there's, that might be Copernicus. I am not an expert on this. Like I wish Danilo was here. I'm just like learning as I go with this stuff. But the key thing is that for open source data, the resolution is not as good as a closed source data feed. Like if you went to, there's an app called like Skyfi where you can buy this data, and it's very, very high resolution. But the open source data is improving all the time, and that's really useful for our purposes, I think. And part of the thinking behind this, certainly from my point of view, is like aggregate all the data to help inform people so they can make good decisions about how to design their land.
Yeah, I wanted to, if there was a view, and this is good enough, just surrounding the Southampton township in New Jersey is pinelands. And pinelands are this protected state forest in New Jersey. It's one of the largest. It's what supplies the Cohansey Aquifer with clean, good, abundant drinking water. So the regulations on the land that you currently see behind me here start to bump up into pinelands. And so they have their own way of dealing with what you can and cannot do and restrictions. So
Mm-hmm.
everything that informs what I do here is about putting impermanent structures on this land, meaning
Yep.
I'm not digging into the earth, or I'm not putting like concrete pilings into the ground, or I'm not doing significant movement of earth. So it makes my job harder out here to do a lot more things by hand, or less like big machinery movement. And that's just one thing that I didn't consider before buying the land, you know, and that's something you might want to take into account for if you're being a little more intentional about it than I was.
Mm. So would this be like under land use rights, or are you talking more about like just what's around the property and what the impact of that would be?
Yeah, it's like municipal regulation,
Mm-hmm.
municipal ordinance,
Mm-hmm.
and then part of my land is considered wetlands, so that opens up a whole like state and federal level of ordinances and regulations.
Yeah.
So
Is that this whole green area around here? Like this
it's
wooded area?
if you could zoom out, you would see that it's like a massive green area.
Wow, it is huge. Is this the Franklin Parker Reserve?
What's it called? It could be it. Actually, the name is escaping me. Yeah, that's a good view. From that
Wow.
dot to the ocean are pinelands, and
Wow. I
famously,
had no
there's
idea
Atlantic
that part
City
of
down
America
there.
was so green, man. Like that's crazy.
New
Sorry, I'm
Jersey is
sure.
the Garden State.
Okay.
It's the blueberry capital of the world.
I can see why.
It's got very sandy. That it's Pinelands are very sandy, and so it's good for blueberries. I think for that
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah, they like acidic soil.
Sweet. Yeah, so I'm really curious to hear from you guys, like, firstly, what you think of this, and secondly, like, what direction should we take this in? What should we remove, add, double down on? Any thoughts or ideas there?
Can you drop the link to the GitHub? I'm trying to find it, but I think it got buried in the
Sure.
messages in the chat. um, I I think this looks great. I think until we like throw it at someone, right, and have them use it like real, right? Like maybe we can go on to looking at our own individual areas on our own and see, right? You said this is mock data, right? So we still have to like plug it in,
So
plug into APIs.
at the moment, I haven't put this up on a server or on Vercel yet, but I will do that after this call, and then people can play around with it. What's mock data is like the analysis. You know how it was coming up with like a little figure of how anti-fragile this piece of land is,
Okay.
like score like this one. So it's saying like what's the climate score, what's the energy score, what's the water score, and all that. This is just like random data. It's not like that's not credible data. But what is in it is like you can see the maps. I did try to get the terrain on there, so there's like different layers available. Like, yeah, you can see the different active layers here. So like, there's this is an OpenStreetMap raster right now, and then there's like Mapterhorn tiles. The Mapterhorn tiles give like the topography of the land, and so on. So it shows like all the different data sources are in there. These data sources are all just freely available on the internet. Anyone can go and tap them. And open source projects like Mapterhorn have actually, like the community there, it's a non-commercial operation. They've like created this really easy to access data source for terrain data, which is really great for our purposes, I think. But sorry, I could easily nerd out on this stuff. I don't want to bore you guys with like details about like.
No, that's it. This is the open build session. That's what we. This is great. Yeah, no, I'd like to I have a couple addresses and areas that I would like to look at already and see, what it comes up with and what more I would like to know. And then I guess, right, you'd like to maybe deploy it and put it back into it like a database or something, and then we can like share it with other people so they don't have to just run it locally.
Yep, I'll do that. So after this call, we actually already have a VDAO Vercel. Our website is on, like our governance stat is on Vercel. So I'll add this. I'll connect this repo in the VDAO GitHub. The address is just like github.com / join VDAO. I think that's the organization name, but I'll drop the link in Discord after. and I'll link this onto the VDAO of ourselves so that it's live and people can play around with it. What I will say is like this is like experimental, right? Like this is being coded by with AI, and we're learning as we go. So if anyone goes and plays around with this, like it's at your own risk, right? And we talked about security last time. So yeah, I think
We could also use AI
everyone
to
knows what
run any sort of vulnerability tests as well. It's dual purpose in that way. Everybody can benefit
Exactly.
whether they're using it for good or not.
Yeah, exactly. You can take the code and run it for your own AI and test if there's any issues with it before you load it if you really want to be safe.
One thing that I want to drill down on around this is a discovery layer, and this is awesome and useful and exciting to see this coming together so quickly. I think the question then becomes, well, what do I do with it? And so I think there's a few different ways that we could approach that, because some people might be like, oh, I'm using this to purchase land and find a place that I can start working, or get others to get involved, or find places that perhaps this is already happening in a geographic area, right? Like, so somebody comes across that like large swath of green acreage there, and they're like, whoa, I wonder if other people are starting to create resilient ecosystems or communities. Now, that may be a challenge to kind of pull that information, but I guess my point is that like that is just one potential outcome where it's like I want to purchase something and I need to overlay to see what's available and for sale in a given area. The other might be I'm already in this area, right? So like Tati might want to see like if she has good solar capacity for where she is and she's using this to do that. But then what? Right? Then it's like, well, then you can use that to, there's a, signature solar link that you can click to be like, purchase, your panels here. So I guess, I don't know if that's necessarily like, if we want to get into like kind of sponsored territory, that gets a little interesting in terms of how if we want to have some providers be involved in this process. Okay. But moreover, it's what can people do with this information? I think that is really important.
You got it going, Gardner. You got me going. Because that's a, we don't know how many people view this. Chris, did you look at the follow up statistics? I think when we saw live stream number 2, we were like, oh, only 6 people watched this. But I think, like another 100 watch it between the week. If 100 people watch this and somebody does navigate to Signature Solar and make a purchase, like that is legitimately affiliate marketing. And, this is just us having a conversation, building an app together, but that is one outlet that is, I had a good experience, so I'll talk about it. And then Gardner, if you go and do that, we should include ourselves on that value chain.
I literally sent the link to my wife after you said it. Was like, Steph recommends this. I trust his judgment. So you should get the affiliate for that. But yeah, exactly.
But fair point. It's there are routes where you don't have to build the product to bake into it exploitive or extractive things. It could be around the discussion we create and a separate outlet. So you just drive value in what you can help people with on the app, and the way to make this sustainable is secondary. It preserves what is the pristine thing that you're building here, which a lot of us in this space, like, we care about how we're viewed in crypto and how like we try to make a living off of this. It's like that matters to us.
Yeah, I love that you brought up like the product or like the user facing side of this, Gardner, because I think there's 2 different aspects to it. One is like the data, which is kind of really niche and a bit dry, and then there's this question of like, well, what are people actually going to do with it, and what are they going to use this app for? So far I've really been focused on like just getting accurate data in, but I think there's so many opportunities for ways that people could use it, and in a way, I think it's a harder problem at this point. Like building this thing with AI tools is, I mean, it takes a little bit of time and effort to work through challenges, but like the AI is so good now that a lot of the tech side is kind of solved, but distribution is a whole other area. Like, what is this offering people? Why are they using it, and so on. So I think that, why would they want to use it? I think that's a whole other topic that we can get into, and I would love to see this take shape within the community as the community themselves use it. Like at the moment, that's kind of how I'm approaching it. Is like I'm building it for something that I would use myself, and as something that the community might use, and then maybe out of that we learn like, oh, like, yeah, maybe it's like a market or a marketplace or something where we direct people to like the best, where we rank the best providers of solar or something like that in the end. Who knows what it ends up looking like, right? But starting off from this point of making something useful for ourselves and our community. So I've been thinking about it.
Yeah, solving our own problems is first and foremost the thing that I think those of us that have like minds want a tool like this. We need a tool like this for different reasons, but making sure that this can be sustainable and useful for a large variety of people. And I think the market that is emerging right now, based on macro trends and just general interest from a lot of people that have a certain concept of what they want the world to be, is resilience, right? And we've been talking a lot about this, and like this is really could and should be, and we should look into what other applications out there kind of fit this mold, which is a resilience application, like a one-stop shop for like how to do that thing, whether it's, you know, water harvesting, whether it's solar arrays, whether it's, you know, network state sort of thing. I think the network
Growing food plants.
Yes, exactly. Fill in all the blanks. Now, it can't be something, you know, everything for everyone, but like these verticals that we already laid out are interconnected. And so I think that there is kind of a mesh here. It's like a resiliency mesh application, a resiliency mesh network that we're kind of putting together.
I couldn't agree more. I love that framing.
So,
and in that, sorry, go ahead, Steph.
well, I was, so I'll kick it back to you, Chris, pretty quickly. But in the, I want to bring this live stream to a conclusion, right? So I think one of the important factors here is we come on together, we iterate on something, we make progress. Let's kind of like summarize our last thoughts and then point what would the worthwhile next iteration, week of iteration be, and then the live stream to begin with next week, right? So if we're going to keep doing this weekly, one, I want to keep it on a good regular schedule. Two is there's a plan, right? I don't want to answer that I have no agenda. What would be a right way of summarizing? And maybe Kit, I haven't heard from you much today, so I'd love to hear like your thoughts in a summary potentially. And then what's a good thing that we all can like anchor on over the next week as a theme or what to build? And then what should we do? What should be a singular focus on the next live stream that we can build on? Kit, any help there?
Sure. I have to say I really enjoyed Chris's demo, and if I could control the mouse, I would definitely be kind of geeking out and digging around in my own map and changing layers and things. And I'm particularly enamored of the fact that it's all using open source content and data and everything. That's really setting an example, and that brings me to the next point, which is I really like the direction where we talked about how we can reference suppliers and things, and I think, I mean, VDAO, it could become an influencer, right? And it could do It could do relation marketing or something, or it could get sponsors to help pay for a podcast or something like that. Because I do believe that that trend is happening. It's really it's I mean, what I just heard about Puerto Rico, people going off grid, and yeah, people in Germany putting up solar fences around their gardens and things like that. I think, especially with the context of the geopolitical issues happening right now, that that trend is only going to continue. And so, um, last week I mentioned users, and I'm now seeing yeah, kind of two levels of users, and one of them is well, people like us who actually would be searching for something and using the map. But there's a larger sphere, which is just the general public, which kind of connects back to the influencer thing. And so I think we should we should keep that in mind, that over time it could be that VDAO is playing an example function in terms of gathering the people and the data and the apps and bringing it all together. And yeah, an audience could develop over time. So that's, I don't see that as a goal, but it certainly could be a byproduct, and it's something that we should keep in mind. And yeah, for next week, yeah, I would like to iterate more on the app, and yeah, bring it more focused in terms of what users might be searching for.
On that particularly, that's probably a good point. You said you wanted to dig into it. So Chris shared a link to, well, Chris said he would deploy it. So that's on Chris to deploy, to share, Kit for you and I and the rest of us to browse, dig in. And then if we care for an upgrade or change or an implementation, perhaps that's where we get ourselves to the GitHub repo and we, vibe on it, vibe code on it, and bring that feedback to the next conversation, because right there is at least one iteration multiplied by 5 to 6 people. So is that a fair ask for all of us between now and next week, is to just do a bit of browsing, research, homework? Okay, good.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I found the GitHub too, and I forked it or like cloned it and downloaded. So now I have it in my local, and I can.
That might be
PR time.
Tati. I think we were interested in post finals and post school, what you might want to dig into on a repo. And I am, no pressure, but I'm just curious, like, if you were to just spend an hour vibe coding with that repo, where would you go and what would you get to? And could we look at it in a week's time?
Yeah, I don't know where I would go. My first thing would be like, clone it, run it locally, play with it, and see, what I can, and then I'll have an idea of like, I want to see this, or that kind of thing. Then you start to ask more and figure out like what you'd like to do. But yeah, I think that would be my first step. I'd like to, uh, like Kit said, you have control of the mouse and click away for a little bit.
And would you be willing to at least walk through how you cloned it, set it up, and are using it locally? Because that would get a majority potentially of our community to the same place where then they could just begin prompting.
Oh yeah, we did talk about that, like a little GitHub setup, quick run through. I can get AI to put together quickly like a little outline of like setting up an account, setting up SSH, so that then when you go to your command line and you clone that repo and you run that locally, then you'll want to push to it, right? but you won't be able to, because then you'll have to like do authentication type of stuff, and that's where like you'll run into trouble. So yes, like we can go through all of that. I've have my training wheels with GitHub now. When I first started with it, it was a nightmare. I messed up so many, like I had to revert so many things. It was like really bad. It was like riding a bike. My knees are scraped. I have the battle scars to prove it. But yes, now I'm much better at it. So I'm totally comfortable like walking you guys through how to get set up, a very basic setup.
I think that would be enormously valuable for a community much wider than those just in this room, those who have only watched, and then we could point more people to it and say, did you catch live stream number 3, minute 50 or wherever? We're in minute 70. You know, at some point in the live stream, we could point somebody directly to that. We could clip it and use it and say, want to get started on VDAO? Here you go.
Sounds good.
And also making the transcripts available for that tutorial as well, because people can pull the transcript, run it through AI, and be like, give me a side-by-side tutorial based on what Tati taught me and what I do next. I mean, that is a really important element to all this, is that like everyone has a co-pilot now. So if you watch a live stream, if you watch a podcast, like get that transcript and prompt an AI of your choice to say, use this transcript as your worldview to recognize what I'm doing and what I'm trying to achieve, and walk me through how I now start from scratch to do this. Now, somebody could also like watch the live stream step by step or the recording step by step, but it's always really great to be like, well, I didn't quite understand this part. Can you help explain what she was talking about? Like, these are really important elements that like anybody can do these things now. You don't have to be a developer. And so I think we should underscore and stress that like all of this is available to like literally my 8-year-old daughter and my 80-year-old mom. Like, they just have to have the time and the ability to learn and the grit to perceive what's happening and what they want to see in the world and push forward to make it happen.
Yeah, GitHub is no longer like this obscure thing that was only for devs. And when you kind of talk GitHub, vibe coders are like really afraid. They're like, I don't want to, right? But yeah, no, GitHub is for everyone. So now everybody must have one.
Have to collaborate. So like everybody does need to understand how to use it, but like only halfway, because you can kind of like ask the questions of how to use it.
Sounds good.
Chris, let me send it back to you to conclude, and I think then maybe we might be able to wrap this up.
Yeah, just to say I'm like extremely excited by the potential here, and who knows, like with GitHub you can like fork things and take it in different directions and build something that works for you. Like there's all sorts of potential that can come out of this this process, and I'm just like really excited to see that unfold over the coming weeks.
100%. Well, all, thank you very much for joining live stream number 3 from VDAO. This is our governance circle going outward and open source. Stay tuned for exciting developments and join us next time. Be sure to check in on the Discord, follow our X account, and we'll see you next week. Thanks everyone for being here. Talk to you next time.
Ciao.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.